Christopher Columbus discovered America because he believed in heaven, on August 3, 1498, during his third voyage on the seas, the explorer discovered the shores of Venezuela, as well as the gulf of a vast river, Orinoco, the first river of the New World. Astonished by the beauty of this land and the water's might, Columbus believed he had come across one of the 4 rivers belonging to the terrestrial paradise. An Indian tribe, the Warao, greeted and welcomed the explorers. Columbus quickly noticed the pearl and gold jewelry they adorned. The gold fever, the quest for Eldorado, a kingdom governed by a tribal chief covering himself in gold dust on a daily basis, led the conquistadors to continuously push further up the river, slaughtering thousands of Indians on the way. This legendary river, the Orinoco, keeps on bearing the flow of tumultuous waters along with many myths. The last remaining descendants of the Warao Indians, who initially welcomed the Spaniards, still inhabit this delta, the largest in the world. It is a true jungle maze of mangroves and the crossing point of over 300 water channels. A large number of the Warao people, a semi-nomadic tribe, established themselves in proximity of the river over 6,000 years ago, but only a mere 20,000 remain. Julian and his family reside on one of the delta streams, located 3 hours away from the closest main road by pirogue. In their native language, Warao means the pirogue people. Whether fishermen or farmers, each Warao family, like Julian's, owns one or several pirogues, as the water is their sole means of transportation. Amerigo Vespucci, who reached this country after Columbus, named it Venezuela, Little Venice, since the Orinoco's delta was reminiscent of his native city and lagoon. The Warao refer to the Orinoco River as the father of our land, as it is a symbol of life to them. According to their culture and mythology, each animal, each plant, and each man belongs to the cosmos. The river and the forest are filled with spirits, both good and bad, as all that lives bears a soul.
It is said of this place that the Mother of Waters draws in the river's water, luring all pirogues to her. When pirogues come nearby to the small lagoon over there, the Mother of Waters draws them in, and that's what brings people to their death. Many people have died like this around here. It's a very big animal. It looks like a caiman. It's large, very large, the size of a house, like my son's house. Of course I believe in it. I've seen it before. Here, in the channels, there's quite a bit of fish. We catch sea snails, catfish, and sheatfish. Have you heard of sheatfish? It's a large fish. We also have lisa. There's a little of everything in the Orinoco, at least enough to live.
Todo. Hay mucho pescado Orinoco, bastante. El pescado. Morocoto, piraña.
There are some morocoto and piranhas as well. We also have some kobutu. There are lots around here.
Mucho por aquí.
The Orinoco is also a source of drinking water, although it's a bit brackish at the moment. The water isn't as good anymore. We tend to go get water in the forest.
In the past, the Warao moved the location of their camps according to the availability of resources, or when their rancherias, their dwellings on stilts, fell apart. Nowadays, an increasing number of families tend to shy away from the nomadic way of life, opting rather for a more sedentary lifestyle on the streams. About an hour trip by pirogue from Julian's, several families have come together to form a small fishermen's community. President Chavez has recently bestowed a cluster of reservoirs bearing his name, allowing them to collect rainwater to be used as a drinking water supply. In the Orinoco Delta, fishermen must keep track of not only the seasons, but equally of the tides and the current. Dry season is deemed the best as the sea extends deeper within the river, thereby bringing a large quantity of fish.
Cachicamo se llama, nombre.
This is a cachicamu tree. We call it the pirogue-making tree, as it's the one we use to construct them.
Bueno, para hacerlo las curias. Esto se les tumba. Bueno, de ahí una semana se cova por dentro.
First, we cut it down, then hollow out the center the following week. After, we burn it, set it on fire, and that's when it splits in half, just like that.
Y después se abre así. Se agarra una 4 o 5 años.
A pirogue made from a tree like this one will last about 4 or 5 years.
Este bejuco mamure.
This is manure palm fiber. We use it to entice the Mother of Water's spirit away.
Este cuando lo agarra la curiara, lo agarra, entonces lo pica esto del mamure, lo pone abajo de la curiara.
We cut it and border the entire outside of the pirogue with it. It protects us. We use it as a safeguard.
Este es remedio a eso. Bueno, mis hijos se quedan.
My children will always live here.
Por aquí. Y siempre.
This is the only place they want to live.
Bueno, los viejos sí. Los viejos.
They don't wish to go anywhere else.
Soldados, no sé.
Julian chose a secluded life on the edge of the world for his family. In keeping with what the Warao community represents, he entertains a paradox in trying to maintain and pass down traditions of a lifestyle from thousands of years back, while enjoying the use of a motorized pirogue.
Ay.
In his rancheria, parents, young couples, and children all cohabit under the same roof, hammock alongside hammock.
You must always remove the head.
How many children do you have?
I have 8 children, 4 boys and 4 girls. I also have 18 grandchildren. That makes for a crowd of people.
Mucho.
If the land irrigated by the river has preserved its mythic qualities and fascinated adventurers, scientists, anthropologists, and prospectors endlessly, it is because it meanders through the thick of the forest in the heart of a lost paradise that has fed the imagination and prose of both Jules Verne and Sir Conan Doyle. South America's second largest river, the Orinoco, traverses Venezuela from east to west, stretching over 2,200 kilometers. The river narrows as it reaches one of Latin America's most ancient cities, Bolivar City. The boat of Orinoco's Cayman, Captain Ali, is familiar to everybody in the area.
It is said that when someone is drowning here, Orinoco's freshwater dolphins come to that person's rescue. Warao people don't like Orinoco's dolphins because they eat the fish caught in their nets. But the Puerto Indians from the upper Orinoco take care of them because they believe one can reincarnate as a dolphin. There are many legends.
The myth's potency, and more specifically the idea of a primitive lifestyle, is what guided him all the way to Bolivar City. Although he wishes he had been born Indian, Marseille was the place of his birth. Determined to realize his dream, Henry Corradini bought a one-way ticket on a ship bound for Venezuela back in 1947 and set foot on the docks of Bolivar City. The city, formerly known as Angostura by the Spaniards, literally meant where the river narrows.
Angostura, Ciudad Bolivar, c'est la ville.
Angostura, or Ciudad Bolivar, is where Simón Bolívar delivered his famous Angostura speech, which is at the very origin of American independence. It's a city of extreme historical significance to Latin America as a whole. The Orinoco has always been regarded as the archway to the legendary mythological city of Eldorado. Spaniard and British alike were captivated by the Orinoco because they firmly believed it would lead them straight to the famous golden roof city of Eldorado.
La fameuse cité au toit d'or, au verre d'or de Eldorado. The
Orinoco was the main waterway that made, let's say, the traffic of Indian slaves from the Amazon possible. Mostly from the Caribbean, they came from French Guiana, British and Dutch Guiana, and also the Antilles, to barter with natives coming from the Amazon via the Rio Cabra. That's the reason why the Spaniards established themselves in Angostura, to be in a position to control traffic of slaves that went by not too far from here. This is where they went through.
Painter, photographer, and documentary filmmaker Henry Corradini has devoted most of his 85 years of life to filming and photographing Orinoco's native communities, such as Panare and Samina tribes, including their myths and languages. He chose Bolivar City as his home base from which he ran his forest expeditions.
Chez les indigènes, j'ai recherché une façon de vivre.
What I longed for in the native existence was a way of life that no longer existed where it came from. It still evokes a sort of nostalgia.
La tribu, on parle d'une tribu comme
The tribe. We often speak of a tribe as a disorganized group of humans, but in reality it's quite the opposite. A tribe is a genuine commune. It's the type of society, ideal small societies where people live in complete harmony, for a lifetime in the rather restrained space that is the longhouse, which shelters 70 people, where everyone sees everybody, where one is always in the sight of others.
Où tout le monde se voit, on est toujours à la vue des autres. Et ces gens-là peuvent vivre pendant une vie entière, pratiquement coupés du monde.
These people can spend their lifetime far removed from the outside world without killing one another, something we would not be able to do. Natives are respectful of their culture. They are considerate towards their environment. They are courteous. Respect is inherent to their culture, the respect for one another. Not only for other human beings, but equally for animals, for nature in general. Some of the natives I have come to know, the Rakui people for example, play the flute to ask for permission before crossing a river. They ask permission from, let's say, the spirits of the river, if you will, to be allowed to cross it.
Si l'on peut dire de la rivière, de pouvoir traverser la rivière.
And when a tree is cut down, an apology is issued to the felled tree. It is cut down strictly when truly needed to make a pirogue, for example, or to establish a cultivation area. But there's an apology made. There's a feeling of transgression against an element of nature, and that it's something that should not be done, even though it has to be. What is so appalling in all this is the fact that the Christian missionaries and clerics do all they can to change this predisposition, the culmination of thousands of years of accumulated knowledge, and the missionaries are determined to strip the natives of their self-sufficiency, making them dependent on our society, forcing them to change their way of life, thus creating needs they truly could do without.
You will hear of wars and battles. Refrain from being alarmed, as these events are necessary. But this will, however, not be the end. A nation will rise against a nation, a kingdom against a kingdom, and famines and earthquakes will occur in a number of places.
The conquest has not ceased and will never end.
Depuis Christophe Colomb, l'Orinoco, c'est l'artère de pénétration par excellence.
The search for Eldorado continues.
Et au fond, on n'a jamais cessé de...
Even today, treasure hunters and governments alike seek the famous city of gold.
Les chercheurs d'or, les gouvernements recherchent le fameux Eldorado. On le recherche sous d'autres formes.
But it is sought after under different veils. The discovery of oil, for one, can be considered similar to the discovery of Eldorado.
Venezuela is currently the world's 4th largest oil producer. Massive oil fields have just recently been discovered along its river and its delta. Although the yearning for black gold has taken over that of yellow gold, the infatuation towards such riches remain very much alive. It keeps spreading to an increasingly large number of both men and women who flock to the river's shorelines in their quest for fortune or simply a better life. And so the conquest carries on. In 1530, conquistador Diego de Ordaz left the shores of Bolivar City in the company of 1,000 men to travel over a 300-kilometer stretch up the river. Upon reaching the Llanos plains several months after his initial departure and the carnage of hundreds of Indians along the way, the expedition was reduced to a mere 200 men. The vast Llanos territory of plains and marshes is a gigantic river basin that drains the waters of the Orinoco and its tributaries. During the rain season, nature as a whole bursts into a Garden of Eden. Llanos plains are a paradise not only for crocodiles, which after years of being hunted for their valuable hide have managed to survive extinction, but also for capybaras, the large and deliciously meaty rodents. First and foremost, the low plains are what the Llanos people, these Venezuelan Wild West cowboys, live for.
Yeah. El guayabo de mi vida y de mi vida no tiene nombre ni fiesta. Lo cierto es que sus raíces son cicatrices que se notan en mi pecho y hasta en mis días infelices sin norte ni fundamento.
William works at Hato El Cedral, an enormous 53,000-hectare cattle ranch. To deal with the relatively small number of large Venezuelan families, the vast majority of such hatos have recently been nationalized by President Chavez, with specific goals in mind, that of feeding the people and preserving the environment through the development of ecotourism within the ranches.
El paso real de mi pueblo que tanto nos vio contentos, ahora me ve padeciendo con un litro de bastimento, borracho y amaneciendo, medio loco y tataré.
What I most enjoy about living here is to be able to ride a wild, untamed horse. Finding a good horse that jumps high over an obstacle, to run behind it, and to then capture it with a lasso. That's our favorite pastime in the corral. We pair up so one of us can slip the lasso's noose around its neck while the other catches its tail. We love it. It's our form of entertainment, our sport.
Uno enlaza y el otro colea en el rabo. Y nos divertimos mucho, nos encanta eso. Eso es el deporte de nosotros.
While courting my mother, my father, who was also a Llanero, would cross the river full of crocs and caimans to visit his soon-to-be bride. We, Llanero, are not afraid of danger. We are proud. Pride flows in our blood and is at the root of all Llano music.
Lo llevamos por dentro porque nos encanta la música llanera. Nosotros somos orgullosos, pues.
We are proud to be Il Llanero, and living here is what makes us happy. We have a proverb that says, if you leave this plain, leave for another one.
Nosotros nos gusta vivir en el llano.
Yo voy a pegar este grito para saludar a este público y presentarme cantando y llegar al punto justo. Sin meterme con ninguno porque yo no soy maluco, no conozco la ignorancia. Cuando no entiendo pregunto. Soy apureño, criollito, mis maestros fueron conucos. Un caballo era la regla y la rienda era un chulupo, la soga y el par de escuela.
When they're not playing lasso with horses and wild bulls, nature's guardians enjoy creeping into bogs to tame the Llanos' greatest predator. In Ancestral Ranch, the strongest at this type of rodeo is Victor, one of William's friends.
Where's the head?
Wow, grande hembra.
It's a large female. What are you waiting for to help me? It's a female anaconda almost at the adult stage. Stretched out, this female has to be about 4 meters long. She's very feisty. Now pass me the tail. Hold her here.
Okay.
Do you want to hold her head? During the mating season, an anaconda female who doesn't want to be with the males anymore will jut this kind of spike she has inside pricking the males pretty hard to tire them out until they will give up. That's how a female gets rid of the males.
A darle muy fuerte para que afloje el macho, para que todos los machos se vayan. Y esta hembra puede tener un buen apareamiento.
This particular female should copulate well with 4 or 5 males this year.
La población dura 2 o 3 meses, ¿ok?
Anaconda mating season lasts about 2 to 3 months. That's happening now. In July, August, and September, it's the gestation period. Baby anacondas are born in winter.
Liberemos la pobre.
Alright, let's release the poor thing so she can get back to her kingdom.
Para que se vaya a su hábitat. Ok. Bye. Mucho trabajo. ¡Ahí ya voy! Bueno, la importancia del Orinoco en los llanos es lo siguiente.
The Orinoco plays a crucial role in the lives of the Llano people, since the more abundant the river's biodiversity is, the more diverse the animal population on the plains becomes. And that is an added benefit for man. The river is truly a symbol of life to us.
Para el ser humano y para otros seres también.
At the same time, horseman, free man, indomitable and patient, impulsive and clever, indolent and tireless, a Llanero embodies the historical heritage of conquistadors, black slaves, and Indian hunters who once occupied the Orinoco Plains combined. Beyond the 1,000-kilometer stretch of almost a serene river course, the water narrows down. As if thrown in an effort to deny access to the Golden Roof Kingdom, in a downpour of rocks from high above by the hands of powerful giants or almighty gods, enormous stone boulders hamper all navigation efforts. Doorway to the Amazon, border crossing between Venezuela and Colombia, Puerto Ayacucho was originally a simple pathway through the deep forest. It later grew exponentially to become a commercial and bartering hub. Because the Orinoco is essentially the border between Colombia and Venezuela, the entire region also acts as a lower ground base to the FARC, the Colombian Rebel Army. Kidnappings are common, while the tension is palpable in an area constantly under the watchful eye of the Venezuelan Navy. In the midst of each dry season, the Orinoco reveals part of its history by exposing sections of its riverbed. It is strictly during that time, when the water levels are at their lowest, that exposed rocks show traces of an ancient civilization wiped out by the conquest, that of the Arawak people, the river's first inhabitants. In Puerto Ayacucho, Juan Carlos is the expert on petroglyphs, these 3,000-year-old rock drawings. Although he has a few foreigners as pupils, most of his students come from all over the country to take an outdoor natural history course.
Look, Payuda, you'll often find petroglyphs in the grottos in the midst of your research. You have to pay attention because only certain grottos have them. There, you can see human outlines. There's another smaller human figure.
I have two questions, Professor. Are we 100% sure that the petroglyphs were made by the Arawak? And during which century were they made?
Which era, you mean? It is in fact more than likely that the Arawak people are at the origin of these petroglyphs. Their settlement in this zone dates back from between 3,000 and 6,000 years. Remember that they were fishermen. They have always navigated the Orinoco. They originated from the sea and navigated up the river from the delta all the way here to Upper Orinoco. We know they mostly struck the pointy edge of cut stone pieces, repeatedly striking one hit after another. Some other petroglyphs have been created through abrasion. They would take a stone and rub it. These are the two known petroglyph making techniques.
Frotan la figura y la van desarrollando. Totalmente que se conocen dos técnicas para petroglifos.
The snake stood as a river symbol in pre-Hispanic culture, a long and wide snake not unlike the Orinoco.
Lo más largo, lo más ancho de lo que es la presencia del río, en este caso el Orinoco.
There are also drawings that symbolize or depict the Indian world, the mythology, the river dweller's origin, and that of life in general. Another important detail is that there are many outlines or abstract drawings entirely unknown to us.
Just as it was back in the Arawak days, men and women settle on the petroglyph zone and stand fishing next to the rapids.
At this time of year, we only catch very small fish. During dry season, there are no large fish around, but in August, when the water level goes back up, the river becomes much more vigorous and everything comes back. The water reaches a depth of about 4 meters. Everything is flooded.
When the river bursts out and swallows the sculptures, it becomes far more difficult to fish in the rapids.
For those of us who regularly work in the rapids, injuries are a rare occurrence. Only the most experienced venture in this particular area. Not just anyone hangs around here.
Up until the 1950s, the Orinoco's supply sources were still not well known. This was in part due to the numerous flooded forests, tributaries, rapids, and waterfalls it traversed, which hindered the exploration efforts. To this day, Only 2 such expeditions have succeeded in reaching by boat the water sources situated at the border between Sierra Parima and Brazil. A number of Indians claim that a few small isolated native tribes still live on the Orinoco's shores in the vicinity of its sources, whose existence solely relies on hunting and gathering while moving about between Venezuela and Brazil. To the Panare Indians, they are known as Mataparitas, those who bludgeon to death. They live within the depths of the forest and rebuff any contact with the outside world. This may be much to their bliss.